Hello quilters, it's Marianne Fontana and I am back with another pattern for American Quilter Magazine. This pattern can be found in the May 2025 issue. I call it Easy Peasy Posies. They look like two different color flowers when you put the blocks together, but all you're making is one design block like the one I have behind me, and you are only using two different cut pieces, so it couldn't be simpler. The key is the coloring. We are going to be using 4 warm colors and 4 cool colors to put the block together. The fabric I selected is from RJR Fabrics, and it's part of their Cotton Supreme Solids collection. And I have to tell you, this is my favorite solid color fabric. It comes in so many luscious color, and the hand is so soft. This is my warm color selection. I really like their color calls. They call the light pink is called Orchid. The medium pink, or this color here, is called Hot Pink. The orange is called Oriole, and then the darker color is called Boxwood Red. So those are my warm cool colors. This is the selection I've used. And the light color is called Jam Jar. The next color will be Robin's Egg, and then Schooner, and the last one is called Mermaid. I think I really like the names as much as I like the colors. And then we're using French Vanilla as our neutral. So we have our 9 fabrics. We have 1 block, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to cut in pieces. Here's what the layout looks like. And you will use only 2 shapes. You're going to use a 3-inch cut square and a 3 by 5.5-inch cut rectangle, and that is it. And we will be making 48 of the same block. That's all we have to do, and then we're going to rotate them, and the magic will happen, and the 2 color flowers will appear. My warm colors from light to dark, 1, 2, 3, and 4, just because it was easier than trying to remember the names. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut 3-inch squares from colors 2, 3, and 4, which is the 3 darker versions of the pink shades. And you will cut 48 of each of them. I did the same thing with the cool colors, numbering them 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, I'm going to cut 48 each of colors 2, 3, and 4 of the 3-inch squares. And lastly, in the squares, I'm going to cut my vanilla, and I will cut 144. The 3 by 5.5 rectangles are also cut in 3 shades, but I am omitting the dark color in each of them, and I'm going to be using shades 1, 2, and 3 in the warm colors, and I am going to use shades 1, 2, and 3 in the cool colors, and I'm going to cut 96 of color 1 in both the warm and the cool, and I'm going to cut 48 in the remaining 4 colors. And that's all. The first thing we're going to do is sew our 2 patches together. These are 3-inch squares on the 4 corners, and I have marked the colors. This is cool 2 and cool 4. We will sew together, and you will make 48. I've already pre-sewn these together. I have a cool 3, and then I have that vanilla flavor that I'm doing. I'm also making 48 of. I have on the other side, the warm 3 color and the vanilla, and I have made 48 of those. And then finally, I have warm 2 and warm 4, and I've made 48. So once you have made your 2 patches, you're ready to sew them together. We're going to sew across, then we're going to sew across. We'll make this inner piece, and then we'll just put them together. It's very simple. I'm referring to my chart, and so I'm going to be using the dark cool colors first. And according to this, it's C4 and C2, which I've sewn together. On all of the 2 patches, I pre-press them all to the dark side. Now I'm going to do the cool 3, then the cool 2, and the cool 1. But rather than do them one at a time, I'm going to go ahead and chain piece the rows together because it will go a lot faster. So I'm simply going to start here, and I will sew. And I'm going to stop with my needle down, and I'm going to go to get my next piece and make sure your darker of the 2 cool colors are on top. And so this is 4 and this is 2, and you're actually sewing 3, the cool color 3 to it. And you will continue in this manner and sew all 48 strips together. Once my strips are sewn, I'm going to just finger press the long strip, the rectangle, the 3 by 5.5-inch cut, and I'm going to go to the next color, which is going to be the cool 2 color. I'm going to go ahead and sew that on. And again, I will continue on, finger pressing the next one. And make 48. I'm going to add my next color, and this will be the cool color too. And I'm actually pressing this direction. I've decided to press the strips in this direction, at least these two. And then I'm going to add to it the cool color number 1. I'll get started, match it up down at the end. Stop with my needle down, finger press next one, add another of the cool color 1, and again continue for how many? You guessed it, 48. Now that the 3 cool colors, the 3, 2, and the 1 are sewn in, I'm going to go ahead and add the vanilla with the warm number 3 2 patch at the other end. And here is my warm patch with the vanilla and the color 1, and I'm checking my chart. The vanilla goes to the top. That's very important. If you do not place the colors correctly, you won't get the flower. And watch this up. This was pressed to the dark side. And I'll take another one, match it up, continue to sew. I always like to take a few stitches and then I can go and match up the other side. It just seems easier because I don't use pins. And continue and make 48 of these. So once you have all 48 made, you can cut them apart and then set them aside, and we'll work on the next strip. Sequence is the cool color 3 and the vanilla, and we're going to do pink number 1, pink number 2, pink number 3, and finish it off with the 2-4 2-patch combo. So here we go. I'm actually, in case you haven't figured it out, only doing 2 at a time. You would be chaining all 48, but you don't need to watch me sew 48. It's exactly the same. You probably don't even need to watch me sew this, but it's always nice to do a little demo. And again, if I haven't said that, the darker color is on the top, and we're adding the pink number 1. Or in this case, I'm calling them warm colors because they're not really all pink. One of them's a little orange color, which I kind of thought it just added interest. You'll press your seams to the light pink side, and then we're going to add the warm color number 2, which is actually a darker pink. And just match it up, get started. And match it up. There we go. And if you notice, I'll just put my needle in there for a second, acts as a pin. And the last of the rectangle strips we will add is our warm color number 3. And in this case, it's that orange color. And again, chain piece, and you will do them just like this, all 48. And once you're finished with that, we've again pressed towards the warm color, the 3rd one that we've just stitched in. And now I'm going to add the last remaining 2 patch with the pink, or what I should say is the warm color 2 at the top and the warm color 4 at the bottom. Do exactly the same for how many? Yep, 48. So I'm going to finish these up and we'll go on to the little center strip. Last, we're going to sew together the center strip, and it's going to be the cool color number 1, which is the lightest, the vanilla, and the warm color number 1, which is also the lightest. And in case you haven't guessed, since we're making 48 of everything, we're going to do 48 of these as well. And again, I will chain them. And it should go pretty quick. It's very simple sewing.
last is the pink. Now all we have to do is sew the 3 pieces together and we're done. 3 section, and just as a point, how I remember it is I have to sew the 2 pinks together. So I'm going to flip this over and sew it to that one. And then when I go to the other side, I'm going to have to sew the 2 blues together, and that's how I know they're in the correct direction. So I have my warm color and my warm color, and I'm going to put it under my needle and just take a few stitches. And then I'm going to go down to this section here where there is a seam that matches, and I'm going to make sure they're going in opposite directions so I can kiss the seams and get the perfect alignment. I will always stop with my needle down exactly where the seam is. And then I'm going to go to my other seam here. And again, this is pressed this way and this is pressed that way. And that's one of the reasons I finger press to start with, just in case I have to flip seams. I don't have to press and unpress. And I will again go and sew to the seam, needle down. Then I will go to the end over here and have my 2 cool colors together. Straighten it out and sew. And I'm a big believer in chain piecing everything, so I'm going to go ahead and add my next 2 strips, and I'm going to put my 2 warm colors together. Started. Go to the seam here to make sure they are going in opposite directions. I'm getting very lucky today because they are. I'm just going to sew a little further down so I can get a better handle on matching up my seams. And then the last one to seam to really pay attention to is right here. Actually, I'm glad I checked again because remember I talked about doing the 2 cool colors. Well, this is a warm color. The cool color's down here. I'm not going to turn them around, so I'm going to go ahead and match the other warm color up with this one because they all have to be on one side and get it started. And then I'll check my seams. Here it is down here. See if I can get them to kiss. And let this one go flat. And then I'll go ahead and grab the next one and get them nice snug together. And then go ahead, and I have my 2 cool colors here, so I'm in good shape. And then I will just open up my next one, match up the next piece, and continue until I've finished all the blocks. And let me finish this one, and then I'll show you how cool they look. And here is our finished block. If I get, now let me just put, I'm gonna go ahead and press it, and I will go put it on the design board and show it to you. Here is the finished block. And as you can see, all the warm colors are on one side and all the cool colors are on the other, and that vanilla is kind of dropping down in the corners and right in the center. So I have made all 48 of the blocks, and now the fun begins. We can assemble it. The blocks will finish at 12.5 inches because each of these will end up being 2.5 inches when it's sewn in, and there are 5 of them, so it's 12.5 inches. So I started already to assemble it, as you can see, and you can see the way the different colors, you now get those cool color flowers and the warm color flowers, and the key is in the corners. You have a red corner and a teal corner. In other words, you have a warm color at the top here, and this one is a cool color, and then there's the vanilla neutral colors on both sides. So it's very important that as you're laying them out, you create a 4-patch of the same color, as you can see right here. So I've taken my first one and matched up the warm color to it. I'm going to get another one, and it's important to make sure that I have another warm color. And if you notice that when I match up the warm color here, I end up with white
a white set of 4-patch right here as well. So we're going to get the warm color, we're going to get a white or a vanilla, and we're going to match the vanilla again, making sure, now see if I put it this way, the vanilla matches, but now I have a cool and a warm and that does not work. So I have to rotate the block around until I get the color correct configuration. And as you see, what happens is you've got the red center right here, and I have a blue one down here that matches, I say blue, the cool color that matches down here. So let me go put a few more in just so you can see how they lay out. And I'm kind of conscious of where the colors fall in the corner. The rest takes care of itself. You just have to worry about the corner pieces. And so let's look, now there's the red, the warm color. And there's my cool color down here. And they will form 4 patches as we go across and lay out the blocks. The blocks are laid out 6 across. I've put 6 across already. And then it's going to be 8 down. So let me see if I can dump this down just a little bit further, and we'll do another row, because now I'm matching. Let's see if I can just put this here. And obviously I don't have enough room to do all the rows on my board here, but you'll get a pretty good idea. And now when I match the vanilla, I'm going to make sure I get the cool color here. So the cool color has to match here. Okay, see that? In fact, you know what? I have this board. I can drop this a little bit. There we go. That's actually an extra ironing board I have, which I find really useful as a table because I can also raise it up and drop it down. So now let's look. So now I'm going to do my cool color corner. And then there's the vanilla. And then I'm going to match the vanilla up in the corner there. And I need to end up with another cool color. And then I need another here, cool color in the corner, which creates our cool color 4-patch right there. And you will continue in this manner, matching them up like that. And as I said, you're going to sew 6 across, 8 down, and that's what your quilt should look like. Now, obviously, I've just put the squares up there. So I'm going to go sew it together now. And I'll show it to you. And then we have one more step. We do have borders to put on. The actual design will have a cool color border on it. Or you can put a warm color, but I chose cool. So that is easy peasy posies. Let me sew it together and I'll show you the finished quilt. I really like the way the posies interact with each other. I mean, where one begins, the other one ends. And it's just kind of a neat way of doing it. Very simple, easy, great beginner quilt. So now off to put the border on, and I'm going to put it on my quilt rack and I'll show you the finished quilt. So you saw the quilt top is pretty much done. Now all I have to do is put the border on it, and I am cutting 10 6.5-inch width of fabric strips for the border. I'm going to miter the seams together, you know, sew them at an angle so that to reduce the bulk across the border. And I'm going to cut 2 at 100 1/2 inch long and 2 at 87 1/2 inch long. And then I'm going to sew the 2 sides on. That's the 100 1/2 inch. And I'm going to then sew the top and the bottom, which is the 87 1/2 inch strip size. And I'll show you the finished one. And if I didn't mention it, I'm using the cool color number 3 for my border. I finished the border and I put it up on my quilting machine and I selected a pattern, and I'm using my Bernina Q-Matic. I don't get paid by them, but that's what I have. I love it. And it's doing this floral design, and I really think it's cool. It's doing these little ragged edges around it. You can see it. Anyway, I'm on my 3rd row. I really like the pattern.
I'm only able to do one row at a time, but that's okay. I'll let you see it again when it's more done. Well, we're coming to the end. Only got to here, and then we're finished. And this is on my Bernina Q24 with the Q-matic. I have an edge-to-edge floral design. I really kind of like the way it's doing this little center of the flowers. Actually, I have it set almost as high as it'll go, but it stitches them slow. It's pretty cool. Surely. And we're done.